welcome everyone to the first annual Bring Your Own Air Conditioner event and Catering Summit. You know, everything in retrospect, when we looked at this facility, it was the middle of winter, and I remember us just constantly saying, Sergio, are you sure it's going to be warm enough? And he said, James, trust me, it will. So thank you for that. We're all set. We do have more air conditioners coming, right? All jokes aside, have more air conditioners on their way. You know, when I think of catering and I'm talking to potential clients or existing clients, being in the restaurant industry, they like to cut to the chase. They're like, just tell me what the big ideas are. And I'm like, well, I hear you should have someone that is in charge of catering, somebody specifically, you know, dedicated to that. People are like, yes, I'm almost ready to leave. I got point one. You know, having a specific menu, we hear that a lot. And I think today, number 3, I would add to that list is your ability to pivot and your ability to deal with changes. Because obviously we're dealing with a little bit of a change. As I left Maman, you know, when I was looking at my phone, they said, well, it's 88 degrees. How do you feel about that? And my answer was not particularly great. I'm like, 88, but they've turned the AC on. They said, yes. And I said, well, let me tell you what will happen when it's 88 and you add 75 people to the room. That's what you're experiencing right now. So I do have some folks I wanted to recognize. Gus from Maman. Guys, Gus did a great job at letting us walk through his operation in his new flagship store, and then spent probably an hour and 15, almost an hour and a half answering questions. So when I recognize these folks, I want you to clap vigorously because I don't have a fan up here. So Gus, let's recognize Gus. Thank you. All right, and then some of our partners. So we've got some friends here from Shift 4. Shift 4 wanted me to tell you that their sponsorship donation, which we turned down, they said, listen, we don't have a lot of money. We're only a multi-billion-dollar company run by an astronaut. We're just going to buy logoed China fans. And we're like, that seems cheap. Who would want a China fan? But let's recognize our friends from Shift 4. All right. That's my good friend Dave in the back. We went to Duke together, and he is sporting what I understand is a $17 haircut. So if you've never seen, that was after tip. All right, our friends from Delivered in the back. All right, great. Thank you, guys. One Huddle, I don't believe has anybody here, but we certainly should give them a round of applause, especially those of you in my direct proximity. So One Huddle. And then my good friend from Gift-A-Meal, please. Thank you. All right, so we have a room full of operators who are not just watching what is happening in on-premise, but actively building a future for it. So one of the things that we wanted you guys to know is this clearly is no longer a line item. This is something that has to be focused on. It's something that really has to be a big part of your business and a big part of your focus. As I was talking to Adriana, who really put this together for us, one of the things I mentioned to her that I thought was really important to convey to all of you is the expertise that you have in this room. Now, obviously, we have an esteemed panel, some really great presenters that are going to talk on some very important topics. But when we have a breakout session, when you go in to walk in to cool off, when you go get a glass of ice water, any of those types of things, make sure you're talking to the folks around you because they really do have great insights. And what we're really hoping is not only will you learn from the presenters in the presentation today, but it's an opportunity for you really to network with other individuals who really know what's going on. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let our panelists introduce themselves. And we can start at my far right.
Yes. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis. I am currently at NAYA. For those of you who don't know about NAYA, we are a fast casual Middle Eastern brand with Lebanese roots. We have we officially have 33 stores. We're opening 3 or 4 more this month, so it's very exciting. But prior to my time with NAYA, I've been at City Fields working with the Mets doing their catering program, and I also spent time working with Taim and Dos Toros. So been in the industry for about 10 years now, and I truly love it.
Excellent. Round of applause again. Great, thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Margaret Monahan, or Maggie, if you see me somewhere else and I'm saying Maggie. I'm the VP of Marketing over at Vertex Hospitality Group. We own and operate Hook and Reel, K-Pot Korean Barbecue and Hot Pot, and Ugly Dumpling. And just absolutely thrilled to be here to share some of our experiences, but also learn from everybody in the room, potentially struggling with some of the similar challenges that we all have when it pertains to catering. And also as we focus on huge growth for all of the brands that we're working with right now.
Great, thank you.
Sergio Perez, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Emmy Squared Pizza. I promise it's usually not this hot. To help make it right, we're going to open up the bar. So any drink on us today outside of any sponsorship or anything that Lunchbox has done. So feel free to go to the bar and grab whatever you need to make sure that you keep cool. Booze always helps, make any uncomfortable situation a lot better. But again, Chief Marketing Officer here at Emmy Squared Pizza. Been here for the last year and really have focused most of my career in leading transformations for brands. Most recently, I was at Bojangles, where I was the head of digital and brand marketing there. And so excited to get you to try some of our food, try some of our drinks, and more importantly, talk all things catering. So
big round of applause for our host. And maybe it's the heat. We are going to record this, so if you miss something, we're going to get you recording, because all I heard was blah, 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 open bar. But I got that correct?
The headline is right, open bar. Come on in.
Don't bury the headline. All right, so we're going to kick things off here. The real topics that we're going to dig into: building a catering experience, how to make it scalable, what is driving demand, because certainly this seems to be an area where there's still, I would say, more demand than supply, which seems really surprising, just given how mature off-premises is. Turning new customers into repeat customers, and a bit on where these leaders are tapping into technology. Did you write that, David? David, our head of sales for Lunchbox. All right, so moving into our first topic. When we talk about catering, most people imagine trays, a driver, drop-off, and probably that's about it. But the best operators are redefining what catering means, turning it into a brand experience. So let's start with how each of you has pushed that boundary. So for Sergio, you seem surprised.
Yeah.
Emmy Squared's built such a strong brand. You've created, I think, breakup parties. Is that true? That's not a typo?
No, that is yeah.
Renamed pizzas for emotional damage.
That's right.
Is that why you keep saying we should have a James Walker pizza? See, he literally did that last night. Okay. How do you think about designing a catering experience, not just a meal?
Yeah, so look, when you think about catering experiences, at least for us, it's usually an important occasion. It's not just an office lunch or, people get, for us, it's it could be a tailgating party, it could be a wedding. We host, weddings in our restaurants in Philadelphia all the time. It could be a bridal shower, it could be a baby shower, it could be a number of things. And so that requires a level of curation that goes beyond just ordering a large amount of food. It's one of the most interesting things that I found here at Emmy is these concept of these breakup parties. Like, for whatever reason in New York, very famous people either would get divorced or broken up, and they would want a curated experience. And so we would change the name of the drinks or the pizzas for them to, have something to do with their personal story. We would, decorate the restaurant or the private event space with pictures of the ex with, a broken heart or whatever it is. And so I think the headline for us is where we have won from a catering perspective is really thinking about curating a more meaningful, personalized experience so you don't have to worry about, you have plenty to worry about from a planning perspective. We just want to make sure that you have, you're able to show up, enjoy the event, and have a great time. And so again, for us, the curation and thinking about how you elevate that experience outside of food is the headline for us. And we go at lengths to customizing menu. Even if there's something that we don't have on the menu that's available, we will bring it in if that is what's going to make that experience more memorable for you. And so personalization is, again, the headline for us, going beyond just name and location and really thinking about the 360 for that entire event.
Great answer. So you did catering. I understand Citi Field and Aramark. Little different. than catering and say fast casual. Maybe
Yes.
talk a little bit about, how are you moving towards the fast casual experience? What are some of the differences and what's important at NAYA?
Yeah, for sure. So because most of my background was in fast casual, I wanted to see what was on the other side and get into events and try something different. So I went over to Citi Field, and it is a completely different experience. They say catering department, but it's a lot different and much more intense than that. So typically my experience for fast casual is everything has to be made and out the door delivered by 12:30. When working in sports and entertainment, you are really at the mercy of that sports and entertainment team. So our entire schedule, for at least for me and my club spaces that I ran, we had to make sure all the food was out by a certain time, and that couldn't just be in one space. It was in all the spaces. They had to be uniform. And baseball spaces are they're large, so it's a lot of walking around, running around, making sure that all of your locations are doing everything simultaneously. But the perspective that I got from it that I didn't necessarily see at fast casual, and this is what you were talking about with events, doing everything for the client, I did a lot of that over at Citi Field. So curating things for not only the Mets side, but private events as well. I went ahead and I implemented digital menu boards to make sure we're showcasing our brand. So if, for example, in Nathan's Hot Dog, we're plugging that logo in to make sure our guests know this is what you're eating and this is what you're serving. So it was more of eating with your eyes visually in terms of not even the food, but how we're presenting ourselves. So for me, it was a great experience, and I'm taking that back into NAYA right now to making sure that our guests are eating with their eyes first before they even look at the food. So when they get the delivery, they should know exactly where your food is coming from. There should be no question that this is your brand, right? Because once you get the delivery, everyone's gonna be like, where'd the food come from? And if someone doesn't know, then they're gonna be like, I don't know, is that place down the block, right? That's not gonna help you retain guests for not only catering, but for longevity into everyday customers as well. So really taking that experience I had and bringing it back into the fast casual world has been a challenge, but it's super exciting. And that's, kind of where I'm headed right now.
Great answer. Yeah, I don't want to slow down any applause. Yes. All right. So Maggie, you have a lot of variables. So you have at least 3 brands. I'm aware of 3 brands, but I'm guessing there might be more on the horizon.
We're very busy at Vertex.
Very busy,
There are
crazy
so many,
busy.
yeah.
How did you make it in today? Suffering from hypothermia and wanted to warm up. But you're also in New York City, but also in rural areas. So riddle me that, Batman. How do you deal with multiple brands and multiple areas of business? How do you bring that together for one cohesive message?
So I don't do it alone. And I think that's the big thing that I always try to convey and prioritize for my counterparts in the industry overall. One of the biggest struggles that I've seen consistently is, we've all heard the phrase working in silos, and that it still happens. And I think one of the things at Vertex that we've been focused so much on, especially because we have 3 different brands that vary so much, right? We've got a Korean barbecue concept, and that's all you can eat, hot pot and Korean barbecue. So it's 2 hours, you're there. That's an experience. You've got hook and reel from a Louisiana seafood boil concept where you're focused on flavors, getting messy, putting a bib on, not being embarrassed. That doesn't really sound like anything anybody's interested in doing, with their CEO, their team members at the office. So we really needed to get creative on how we were going to create some of those opportunities. And then we have what I like to say is our new baby brand, which is Ugly Dumpling. We opened about a year ago, and starting to introduce and identify how we can take hand-filled soup dumplings that are cooked fresh, made to order, and then deliver them in scale. So there are a lot of challenges, a lot of variables that we're working with. And then, to James's point, we're not just in a huge city where you're running up and it's being dropped off in an office and you're back in and the team just keeps going. So one of the things that we're continuing to prioritize are processes and sharing what works, testing and failing fast, and then moving forward from that. And that's really what we're focused on doing right now. So when it comes to hook and reel, we have done personalization, but we've also gotten stuck on it decision paralysis. You have so many options. How are you guiding people? I see heads nodding. All right, I don't know, but I see them. So when we think about that, it's just like, what does that mean, right? So you're thinking too many options, not enough options, too personalized. So we really started working on creating a custom set menu, but also something that people can add on to. And it's really just that flexibility right now that we're empowering our teams and our franchise partners to have.
Great answer. So I love talking about not working in silos. Obviously, experience is very powerful. Next, we're going to talk about how we actually operationalize and scale these programs. So growth brings complexity, and I certainly have heard some very fantastic growth stories, not just from our panelists and what they're doing, but from folks in the audience. But each of you has tackled scale in a different way, from managing $7 million in catering with, say a single person, to coordinating weddings out of a pizzeria. I don't know who that was targeted at, to enabling 150 franchisees. Let's talk execution. So at NAYA, you're processing millions in annual catering, if my numbers are correct. What's the first system or process you recommend to brands looking to clean up their catering operations?
Yeah, so one of the first things I did when I started at NAYA is I realized the stores weren't using a checklist or a prep sheet that was consistent across the board. And one of the things is, as we continue to grow, we have to have a solid program, so that way when we get to the point when we're opening location every week or however many it is, we can just say, here's what you need to do and go do it and you're going to be great. So that was the first thing that I implemented. We required the stores to take an additional 15 minutes. And our director of operations helped me come up with some formulas, because sometimes Excel and I aren't friends. And we were able to come up with a prep sheet that the stores can put in their order. They put in all the information they need, and then there's one prep sheet so they don't forget anything. And then another prep sheet they just hand over to the kitchen and say, this is how much chicken you need to cook. This is how much rice you need to cook, right? So by having that process, they are able to go ahead and check off everything that they need. And thank you. And they can check off everything they need. We implement that about 6 weeks ago. We've already seen about 85% reduction in missing items. So that is the first thing I always recommend, is that you have some sort of checklist and you're going through it step by step. The other thing too, you could be starting off with one location or 100 locations. This team needs to know who they're communicating with, right? So if you're just sending emails like, I need this catering, I need this, I need that, they don't know the person, they don't know the face of that person, right? So really taking the time to establish relationships with your general managers, with your crew members, whoever is preparing your catering orders, so they know exactly who you are. And when you're calling them like, hey, I really need this done, they're like, oh, I know exactly who this is, no problem, we're gonna get it done. And it really shows everyone that it's a team effort. It's not just one person from the top saying, I need this done to drive sales. It's a team effort. And if you need help, I'm going to be there to support you. That's really what I tell the GMs all the time. Like, when you need me there, you call me and I will be there. And that's the one thing that has really, helped us, just move to the next level. But it really just helps everyone across the board, because it really shows that, we are one team, one dream, and it's not just one person trying to just grow sales.
Fantastic. Great. All right. All right, Sergio. So when we think of Emmy, you guys stretch the restaurant model. I mean, trucks, weddings, breakup. Do a lot of people come to a breakup party?
I would say on average about 12 to 15. So,
wow.
Not
right. And
too bad.
Those were just my ex-wives, I think, right? Pretty sure.
Just from Orange County.
That's exactly. The Orange County contingent of ex-Walker wives. So when everything has to work, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think today's a good example of just having the ability to pivot, right? When, things don't necessarily go according to plan. This is where communication between operations and marketing is critical. We always, or I like to say that we're in charge of sending the invitations. Operations is in charge of, hosting the party. And so making sure, to your point, that from a process standpoint, there's, clarity on role, who owns what from, the minute you get that lead to the minute you process that catering order or event. And then the day of, who owns what from, again, a consumer perspective is critical. But then also systems are also important, whether it's, making sure that, you've got the right packaging, the right technology package. So for us, it's really that integration between operations, marketing, and sales, and making sure that there's clarity of role to make sure that you host flawless events that are cooler than, again, what we're experiencing today. But yeah, I would say that synergy between ops and marketing is
great.
Critical.
Yeah, I think as you're thinking of brands that have more storytelling or history, finding a way to convey that wherever you go is really, really important. When I think of some of the brands that probably are less fast casual, they're more QSR. If my food, if first of all, if I'm doing catering, I'm probably surprised, but I just want it to arrive where something like Emmy Squared have had such great experiences. I'm looking for that great experience, so making sure that you have the support there. So Maggie, hook and reel, slightly larger menu.
Menu.
All right. So help me understand how you balance menu flexibility with operations and franchisee controls. Because my understanding is occasionally franchisees are opinionated. Somebody told me this. I don't know if it's true. I heard it earlier today.
Have you worked with franchisees before?
One or two.
One or two.
Worked with is a very misleading term.
I knew that about him, by the way, just so we know. Oh. So, and I don't want to sound like a control freak, but when we talk about the processes, it is so incredibly important. And one of the things that we've identified for hook and reel specifically, right? We have a core menu. The SKUs for that menu alone is mind-boggling. But when you think about a Cajun seafood boil, just think about some of the things that you might put in it. Shrimp, head on, head off. Clams, mussels, scallops, potatoes, corn, broccoli. People add noodle. There are so many options. So we created and worked with our franchise partners to really get buy-in and insight from them. Because realistically, you can't be everywhere at once. So you really need to get that buy-in and that insight from those local partners to say, what does your boil look like? What is your guest looking for? What is the flavor profile that, when the team comes in after a game, what are they looking for? Is it spicy? So there are so many variables. So creating that core menu and working with them, presenting it to them and identifying portion sizes, flavors, all of the add-on options, and essentially what will come in that one order when somebody says, I need a boil that feeds 15. You told me what you need, I am going to give it to you. But then you also want the upsell option, right? And it's that variability and that customization that you still want the guest to have. They want to plan the party, but they can't. That's why they come to us. And I think that's really one of the things that we empower our franchise partners to do is saying, hey, what do you need from us? What can we provide and help you grow and scale with some of these additional customizations? And I think allowing them and empowering them to have, that buy-in really helps them say, hey, I want to execute this because this is my catering program, as opposed to this is Hook and Reel's catering program and I'm just going to execute.
Great answer. So next topic I know is one probably everybody is hoping to leave with some ideas. How do we drive demand? How do we increase sales? So you can build a great catering program, but if no one orders, it doesn't matter. Probably costs you money, and obviously, we're talking about the customization necessary in menu, but that probably includes things like paper products. So how do we fill the funnel? Each of you has tested various campaigns, field marketing, wedding expos, breakup parties, all of the above. I can't get over that, by the way. Going to unfortunately use that at some point. So Maggie, you mentioned a very involved process in helping franchisees with their success, including handing them a fully baked target list. Amazing. Can you share a little bit more with the group? Did you bring target lists for everybody?
I didn't, but I can work on it.
All right.
So one of the things that I also have had a lot of experience but excitement working through and with is field marketing. and that really hyper-local optimization element of where you are and who is in the restaurant and who is going to be your core consumer or your guest. I like to think about it as the people that live, work, and play in an immediate area, and starting with the people that work in your restaurant. So when you think about field marketing overall, and we always do, right? And for me, marketing is fun, creative, data-driven, but realistically, you have to look around. And one of the challenges that I had seen consistently was saying, hey, we have a catering program, and to James's point, but no one is ordering. And I was like, well, why not? You can build your own. Here are preset packages. What are we missing? And what we found was we were focused on social and digital, building brand awareness, all the buzzwords that we love to say and throw out there in marketing, right? Knowing who the target demographic is and who the audience is. But we never looked at that 1 to 3, maybe 5, when we kind of get outside of the cities, what that radius looked like, and what were some of those community-based organizations, places of worship, the hospitals, the schools. John, who's the host or the front of house manager, the general manager, his son goes to PS14. How are we helping John and his family be supportive and supporting the community? So one of the things that the team for Hook and Reel, K-Pod, and Ugly Dumpling is now doing is when we're introducing the catering program, we know that there are going to be various elements of what that looks like. The preparation, what it looks like to roll it out for the first time. Something will be missing, we know that already. It might be napkins, it might be the bib, might be chopsticks, soy and vinegar. It could be a dozen things. But one of the things that we know will not be missing is that connection to the community. So our goal, while we let and empower the operators and the franchise partners to focus on that, operations, is let us help you in the beginning. So here is your kit of sorts that says, hey, here are the 5 local schools within a 3-mile radius. Here is their PTA president. We've already done some outreach. We've let them know that we're here. We've invited them to the soft opening. They already know that we are committed to serving them. You don't just drop a location or a restaurant into a neighborhood and say, hey guys, we're here. You really need that buy-in. So that's really something that we prioritize and have been focused on. Getting to know, where are people congregating? What are they looking to do after they're at worship? What are they doing after a baseball game or Jimmy's football game? So it's really allowing and creating at least that semblance of, hey, 3-mile radius, 5-mile, 10-mile. These are the points of contact. And not that the team has unlimited time and resources to start outreaching, but the franchise partners also, if they know that we're there to support them and we're taking that first step, they're also really excited to then maintain and grow some of those relationships. And that's really what's been helpful when we're kitting, rolling it out, and introducing a new offering. And it's not just, good luck, you have the kit and the process. We're here along the way to support, and I think that's really made a huge difference for us.
Fantastic. So Sergio, always pushing the envelope, being unique. I understand you're doing campaigns like tastings for executive assistants.
Yeah, so I'll give you sort of 4 headlines that I think have been helpful for Emmy. One of them is we like to host tastings for executive assistants, wedding planners, people that are in the community, particularly when we change seasonal menus. We like to bring them for a night out, drinks and food on us, an opportunity for them to trial the menu items, get them through all the variety of the menu, and then getting them to even place orders sort of before they leave has been, a little bit of a success for us. 2 has been a referral program. So anybody who orders on a quarterly basis, we'll send an email campaign out that says, hey, if you refer somebody, we'll give you X percentage on your next order, which has been helpful. The third is PR. And so it's underrated, but getting on those lists of best places to host an event, best places to order for a big party. We were just on Forbes for the big game. We do. We have a pretty substantial program with Goldbelly. And so the ability to host, party even if you don't have an Emmy near you, those PR placements are helpful. And then the final one is surprise and delight. So anytime holiday season comes around or graduation season comes out, we have these cookbooks. We have some here that, we're happy to give away later today. But, we'll send a cookbook out in a glass or in a bottle of wine to, our big accounts and just say, hey, next time you're thinking about a party, think of us. And so those 4 things for us have been the most successful at generating demand. Hosting curated events, doing that referral program, local PR placements and surprise and delight. And then outside of, what you talked about from a local perspective, there's also tried and true things you should be doing, like paid media. Like search is a great opportunity for you to capture people that are, looking to order, and primarily, getting them, in your own ecosystem versus a partner like Easy Cater or something along those lines where, you have to think about the economics. But again, I think curation for us, and that's our price, and the white glove touch with our current books have been helpful. The other stat that I will give you is, for every catering event that we host today, about 25% of those that attend the event end up ordering from us. And so that referral program, again, has been quite successful for us.
Great. All right, Alexis, so you've used first order discounts, pop-ups to grow new markets. What marketing tactic has actually moved the needle most for NAYA?
I would say, so the promos are great. So anytime we open a location, we give 20% off your first order. Anytime we've done like a promotion for catering, like try our new, we had an appetizer bundle. We did a promotion for that. But I personally love pop-ups. So I had done them at past companies before, and I just started introducing them to NAYA. So we launched our first program about 3 weeks ago. And what's great about it is that anyone who's not familiar with pop-ups, we bring NAYA to the client, right? So we're bringing a scaled back portion of our menu because we have so many options. We have the staff, we set up, and then we will take payment or the client prepays, whatever they prefer. And this is great in new markets because 1, if they don't know about you, they're going to know about you after lunch. And 2, if they're not getting you at lunch, they are going to think about you for dinner. They're going to think about you when they're not eating lunch, or the person that has the pop-up they don't like that day. And, and then the third option, which is what I love to see, is they're going to think about you for graduations, for birthday parties, for things that they need catering for. So with our first pop-up in Boston, our first day, we had 70 people. By the second week, we had 130, and our last count was at 150. So the numbers are continuously growing, and that's just by word of mouth of people just at the company. And the location we're at right now, they're about 5 blocks away from one of our stores in Boston. So I've seen great success with that because, again, it just shows that we can come to you. You can have a great experience. Imagine what's going to happen when you go in store and you can see all the options we have. So we started that in Boston. We're going to be launching that in Connecticut next week. And that, for me, is a great way to bring in more customers to our store. Another tactic that I've used in the past, and I'm hoping to do it hopefully by the end of the summer, early fall here at NAYA, is a client appreciation program, right? So you have admins, offices who are just ordering all the time. They're spending thousands of dollars. And at the end of the day, we always say, well, that's the company's money, right? But the admin is making a conscious choice to order from you, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, however often they want it. So it's just a way to say thank you. When I've done this in the past, we closed down one of our restaurants a little bit earlier. We said, come to NAYA, obviously get some food, or the time it will be NAYA, but come to us, get some food. We'll have some drinks. We have a prize wheel. We'll have a DJ, and we do all this fun stuff just to say thank you. And that's really all it is. We don't expect anything in return. We do some fun raffles, but the likelihood that they're going to continue to order and tell their friends, that's something that, in the long run, you can spend, maybe we'll spend, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for one day, but you're going to see that come back so quickly over a few months. It's incredible. So those are really things that I like to do to keep clients coming back because, again, we need to show that we also care about them too. It's not just a transaction. We need to show that, like you said, like going out, doing the local marketing, like we care about them just as much as they love to come to our brand.
When I think an important point that you make is thinking about that executive assistant is different than thinking about a consumer, right? Because what they care about is making sure that food gets there on time, that the order's accurate, that the food is hot. Otherwise, if something wrong happens, it's on them, and they're the ones that look bad. And so taking care of that executive assistant is incredibly important. And as marketers, you have to think differently about how you approach messaging them and targeting them than you would a regular consumer who's just ordering for, a watch party or whatever that might be.
Yeah, because again, like a regular consumer, if they want NAYA, they're gonna get it. But an executive assistant, they have hundreds of choices to go to, and at the end of the day, it's either again weekly or biweekly, however many times they're doing the catering. They're making that choice, and they should be rewarded for coming to you more often than not.
Great. So we talked a little bit about driving business, which is great. Let's talk about how we keep those guests coming back. I think you touched on it a fair amount there, but catering guests can be obviously incredibly valued. Just the lifetime value of that client is absolutely huge, but can be a little high maintenance. Is that safe to say? Yes? Smile, guffaw, I guess. I never used that word before. So brands that win are the ones that stay very close throughout the process, up to and including when the food is delivered. So let's talk a little bit about retention in a little more detail. You set us up very nicely. So let's go back, Alexis, to you. What metrics show you whether a catering guest is worth re-engaging, and how do you track what is working?
Yeah, so we're starting that process now with NAYA to see, what guests are coming back. So it's something as simple as just looking to see how many times is a client ordering, right? Did they order once a year for their, holiday Christmas party, or are they ordering weekly? Were they ordering weekly and then did they just stop randomly? If so, why did they stop? We did something back in March. We said, who hasn't ordered with us for this year, right? And whoever hasn't, let's send them hey, we miss you, come back. What can we, here's some 10, 20% off your order, come back. And another thing I like to do too is anytime something goes wrong, because like you mentioned, something is going to go wrong. We're not perfect. Just to do a simple follow-up. So hey, I heard, we forgot your rice. Is everything okay? Were you able to enjoy your meal? What can we do? Come have lunch on me, right? It's something as simple as just saying, just have lunch on me is a huge way just to get the client retention back, because, specifically with office catering and the fast casual catering industry, it's a lot of the admins, the offices ordering. So getting them to get free lunch is something that they're going to really enjoy. So just tracking the small things at the end of the day makes a huge difference. And, this kind of ties back operationally, because I am much more of an operational catering manager than sales for sure. Doing a simple checklist to go back to make sure we're not missing items. It's just, we're going to get that guest coming back if we're getting their order perfectly done, right? And if something goes wrong, just apologize. Yesterday or Monday rather, we actually had to close one of our restaurants due to the heat. Nothing was temping properly. So I just, made
too cold?
It was actually too cold. All the food was frozen. And I just thought, chicken shawarma frozen wasn't going to be a good look for NAYA that day. So I just made some calls. And I just called them and I was completely honest. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry, but we're going to be late today. We had to move your order, due to the heat, whatnot. And everyone was just understanding, oh, no problem, of course. So just taking a little extra step to communicate with the client too, to say hey, I'm so sorry, this is what's going to be happening. They're going to be no problem, totally. Instead of just waiting until the last minute. Oh, by the way, your order's coming late. Then they're going to, is going to be angry. So just also having constant communication with a client if you can anticipate it or when things are going to go wrong.
Great. So Maggie, I understand you collect guest data from your POS to re-engage during key moments. What has worked well in driving repeat orders, and what do you recommend for our audience here?
Pay attention to the data. And I cannot stress that enough, because I think one of the biggest things that we see is we all get really excited about how much customer data we have, how many phone numbers are in the system, how many email addresses we have. But when you really start to drill down and identify what these individuals are ordering, if you're ordering pork dumplings and you've been ordering pork dumplings for 3 months, once a week, every week, don't ask them about the vegan dumplings. And I think that concept overall is just know what the individual is looking for. Maybe it's the spicy mala pork dumpling that they might want to try next, right? They're consistently coming in they're loyal to the brand. Now give them another option to identify. If everyone is always pulling out or identifying the customization piece again, no eggs in this, no onion in that. Don't talk about that new dish, the Mongolian beef that has scallions and onions in it, right? This individual clearly does not like them. So I think by paying attention to some of that information is really important, just so we can show that you're connecting with them. Identifying some of the opportunities where you see that they're coming in consistently. Look at the party size, right? How many people are coming in at once? How can you then convert that to an opportunity for off-premise, right? They were in the restaurant and they had 6 or 8 people there. Well, either they have a lot of friends or they were celebrating for something. Create that opportunity and that occasion to care, right? Identify, hey, next time you come in, try this for that large group because it might serve more. Create that sampler option so individuals can try a few more options when they're there as a larger group. Also, one of the things that we're looking at is particularly for Ugly Dumpling right now, we're rolling out and launching this new catering program and some new dishes. Free tray, right? You want to drive trial. So by engaging those individuals that are loyal to the brand already, have been having the noodles and the dumplings and the dim sum, start introducing some of those other options, right? By paying a little bit more attention, drilling down on some of the information that you have that they might not even know that they've given you, right? You're just paying attention to the guest. And by doing so, it's going that extra mile to say, hey, we know what you like, and we think you might enjoy this too.
Great. So Sergio, in the past, you've mentioned the need for technology that better connects you, the event management team, and ordering. What does the 360-degree view of the guest mean to you, and what's still broken in technology today?
Yeah, so, if I'll give you 2 examples. When I was at Bojangles, different beast. It's QSR, easy to order. You don't really need to think about events and curating events. A place like Emmy that's a little bit more elevated, you have to think about both the catering side, which is supplying people with large amounts of food, but then you also have to think about the event side and the curation side. And today, those 2 systems live separately. However, consumers live on both the event side and the catering side. And so today, there's not really a way to connect the dots from a 360 perspective because there's just not one system that allows you to do that. You have to pull data from here, pull data from there to be able to get a 360 experience. And so for me, as I think about Emmy and as I think about brands that have events as a core competency of their program, finding a one-stop shop that allows you to both manage an event, but also manage a catering order in one ecosystem, not only gives you greater visibility from a consumer perspective, but also, it unlocks the opportunity for you to communicate and message and do all those things that, are important from a frequency and retention standpoint. And so again, for me, being able to bridge that gap is critical. I've not seen a solution today that solves for both of those today. And so anyway, that's, I think, what's, if you can put it on the roadmap at Lunchbox, that'd be great.
All right, thank you. That sounds so kind of tapping into technology. You can see their delivery, POS, marketing, sales, ordering. So we've got a few minutes before we have what I've been led to believe is an open bar. Additionally, always trying to make sure that you leave with something. Hopefully you feel like you've got some knowledge. Did you feel you got some good answers from this group? All right. So I don't know anywhere near as much about catering, but I did want you to leave with something from me. So I did send them out to buy popsicles and Otter Pops, which I think they're setting up on the bar. But before we let our panelists go, we're going to have an open bar from 3 to 4 and then some networking. But just wanted to open it up if there's any questions for the group. You've got a lot of really smart people here. So maybe, Angelo, you could pass a microphone around. I know my friend Bob over there absolutely has a question. Look, he's just dying with his question. So any questions for our group of panelists?
Hey, Maggie, George from Sophie's Cuban. I handle IT and marketing for the company. You mentioned going to the consumer on location. Is that something you do through third parties like Fuda, or did you set that up within NAYA?
So right now, I'm working with, in Boston, I'm working with something called Food Works. And that was just to get specifically into the Fidelity building because they utilize Compass. Our pop-ups right now are being operated by Fuda. However, once you get your format done, you can operate it at your own level. In previous companies, that's essentially what we did. We obviously would still operate with Fuda, but when someone would call for the same concept, we just gave them the price per person. We worked in, labor, transportation, all that stuff, and we just did the same quote with the client. So it's definitely easier with a third party, especially if you're just trying to get your foot in the door, just so that way you can get the program up and running. But I would just say offer it at your own terms. It makes it a lot easier for everyone involved. Plus, you don't have to pay commission, which we all love.
And is that something that's living on your website? Do you guys market in that capacity, or?
Since we just started the program 3 weeks ago, that's something that we haven't marketed yet. And right now, because of how busy, most of the catering business, I would say at least 75 to 80% is New York City based. That's not something I want to throw on New York stores just yet. But it is something I'm hoping to start in the fall, maybe Q1 of next year, to offer it on our site. So for right now, if someone was to call and ask, we'd give them the information, but we're really focusing right now in our Boston and Connecticut areas for right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Bailey from Louisiana with Off the Hook Restaurants. So right now we're in the middle of onboarding Lunchbox, bringing on an app. When guests are ordering through the app for catering, are y'all allowing them to collect those points for loyalty?
No, we're not.
Okay.
We've had challenges with that in the past. And I think realistically, when you are looking at some of those point systems, it can be a separate opportunity for your catering partner with that individual or the venue. So you can always work up a new individualized incentive opportunity for them to keep growing, again, the surprise and delight for that individual party, and have it separate from the system.
I will say, though, that we at NAYA are looking to do some sort of loyalty program because we are getting more and more, hey, can I use my account to get the points? So we are trying to figure out what that looks like and how to build that into our software.
Hi, Bob Pascal, Franklin Junction. Two kind of related questions on off-premise. Are you seeing the split to family style, like platters versus boxes going out? And then who's actually delivering the food for you? Is it your team or third parties?
At Emmy, it's a combination of, on the delivery questions, a combination of the team, but also we work with Delivered on, getting our food out. I think New York is always a challenge, right? Sometimes you'll have an $800 order and, a bike shows up and you're like, well, that's going to be a challenge. And so we take it on a case-by-case basis, depending on the size of the order and the client. We'll determine if we're going to deliver it or somebody else does. And usually it's our catering and events manager that handles that side. It's a salaried person versus an hourly person. And so anyway, that's how we're handling that.
We've done a mix of both as well. When it comes to how we were preparing for K-Pot, the Korean barbecue and hot pot concept, while we were introducing and just starting to roll out catering, we focused on the operations and consistency of the items. So went smaller scale with the individualized boxes. And now just over the last 3 weeks, we've been slowly piloting some of those larger group orders, more for the offices and larger organizations as opposed to the large groups or family style.
We use a third party to deliver all of our orders, but for anything off-site that is done by us directly, we're working in Boston to get a van, but our Connecticut location has a van, with our logo, and we're ready just to go anywhere.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Shayna from Brooklyn Dumpling Shop. We do not have a catering manager currently. We're in startup mode. So my question to you is, what are the resources other than like a curated hit list of folks nearby in the 1, 3, 5 mile radius? What are the routines and processes you would recommend to put in place for our restaurant team, our restaurant managers, our DOs, to help do some of that outreach and guerrilla marketing?
Yeah, I think, the focus at Emmy is trying to keep operators to operate restaurants, but in the event that you don't have that catering and event manager, think about ways that you can kill a couple of birds with one stone. And so for us, showing up to like food festivals, like have a little booth where you have the GM, it allows them to talk about catering, it allows them to talk about, the restaurant. That has been, a good opportunity for us. Neighborhood associations have also been a really interesting way for us to get the GM to be a part of the community, but also turn that into, catering, being able to host neighborhood association meetings in the restaurant that keeps the GM in the restaurant and not having to go anywhere else. And so that's another interesting way. And then we ask our GMs to do pizza drops at least once a week. And so just go around the neighborhood 4 blocks around your restaurant, drop off a catering menu, drop off a pizza, and say, if you need anything, call me, I'm the GM. And so those 3 things are, things that I would think about if I were in your shoes.
I think we have time for just one more question. Do we have another question in the back? By the way, like if you've ever taken like speech class in college and they're like, if you're nervous for any reason, like the room's too hot, just imagine people are in various stages of undress. I'm never going to give that recommendation. Now I'm just like, imagine the audience are all eating popsicles in front of you.
Thanks so much for sharing your insights today. I learned a lot about, establishing catering presence. My question is, if you're a brand that's embarking on this for the first time and you're looking to maybe prioritize, corporate events or family meals, is there any sort of recommendation you would have to someone on maybe where to prioritize or just where to start with that?
I would start with who your core consumer is and what service model you have, right? And so if it's, for us, pizza is easy. So like corporate events, we'll do all day because that's easy for us to handle. But anyway, I would start maybe with like, what's your offering and then what's your core consumer, and use that as a launch pad to identify where that core consumer lives best. Is it a corporate? Is it a social? Is it, an in-restaurant event? And so that's how I would approach it if I were a bit in your shoes.
I will say I've done it in the past, fish bowls, right? So if you really want to go towards corporate and your day-to-day foot traffic is corporate, drop your business card in and enter for a chance to win a free catering. I don't know how relevant that still is if people still have business cards. So you could always switch over to a QR code, and that's actually probably easier because you get all the information in one. And at the end of the day, everyone's a winner, just don't tell them that, right? So that's kind of your way to see who is interested in catering, who wants catering, and then just kind of start from there. And then you could also, I've seen it done too at some fast casual brands when I've just gotten individual ordering for myself for lunch. They send over a survey and they ask like, are you interested in catering? Do you want to receive catering emails? Do you want to receive catering promotions? You can just start adding that to any feedback you already have. And then you'll be able to kind of see where your, client base is lying. Is it the corporate? Is it the family meals? Like what avenue should you be taking?
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Awesome. So basically it's 3:30. You've got a half hour or however long you need to get additional popsicles, or I heard open bar. So let's put that to a full test. And then we'll regroup. There's networking. And my understanding is that side of the restaurant is a little bit cooler. That air conditioner is working. So there is some relief in sight. How about a round of applause for our panelists? And a round of applause for yourselves for sticking out. Really appreciate it, guys. All right, open bar in 3, 2, 1. Thanks, guys.